قوي على خدمتك جوارحي، واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في البارزين، واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فارد، ومن كادني فكد، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك، واعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقلني عثرتي واغفر زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة، فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي، يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء، يا من اسمه دواء، وذكره شفاء، وطاعته غنى، ارحم رأس ماله الرجاء، وسلاحه البكاء، يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقم، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم، يا عالما لا يعلم، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بي ما أنت أهل، وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله، وسلم تسليما كثيرا. سورة الفاتحة.
Right, can we start with the salawat, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, all this stuff you know, introduction to journaling, the color directory. We went through Quran City, the Road Network, Walzam Qalbi Hifdha Kitabika Kama Allamtani, you know that. Right, Surah Al-Fatiha, focus. Come on. Summary of the Quran. Baqarah. Come on. History of Iman. Ali Imran. Muslim identity. Surah An-Nisa. Manifestation of that identity, and it was respect for women. Ma'idah. Perfection of religion. And I'm waiting. Practicalities of Tawheed, and people made up their own rules, okay? Araf? You should be able to read it. I think it's up there, isn't it? Those who rejected divine. Oh, God Almighty. Anfal. Qualities of believers. Tawbah. Hypocrisy was exposed. Yunus. It's never too late. Okay. Hud. Oh, come on. Really? We just did Hud. It's written up there. Basics of faith, and you had examples from other prophets' lives. And Yusuf, that we started last week, was basically trust in divinity. And if you remember where we got to, I said next episode today. So we started off with this child who was kidnapped by his brothers because they were jealous, betrayed basically by them, put in a well, drawn out, and I'm just rushing over last week's lesson. Please go back to the video and have a look at it. Bought by the Aziz, brought up by Zuleika, but then at 18 she looks at him and she thinks, oh my goodness, he's cute, and she likes him. And because he's filling that emotional void that is caused by her husband, so sends all the servants away. We went through that. She locks the doors, and she covers her idol. And he says, my God's eyes cannot be covered. Do you remember that? They run to the door, open the door. The Aziz is over there. And he's only worried. He's not worried about it. He says, Yusuf, forget about it. Zuleika, just ask for forgiveness. Everything's all right. Because he's part of the government, and he doesn't want a scandal, right? In the end, you remember that she calls all the women because they're all gossiping about her, and you remember the cutting of the fruit. Yes? No? Just trying to remind you. Okay. Put into prison. He's got those two people in prison who tell their dreams. He tells one of them, you will be executed. He tells the other, you'll be spared. Don't forget me. But he forgets him. 7 years still in prison. And 7 years is a long time. Bid isnin, right? A long time. And then the king has a dream. Do you remember the king's dream? 7 lean cows eating 7 fat cows. He sees the 7 years of wheat and the dry wheat as well. And then this man remembers, oh yeah, there was this guy in prison who knew how to interpret dreams. He goes to Yusuf. Yusuf tells him the dream. He goes back to the king, and the king says, bring him to me. He says, I'm not coming until you clear my name. And Zuleika comes, and remember she says that I blame my nafsul Ammar. I need you to remember the nafs, because we're going to talk about it at the end. This surah talks, the next surah which we're going to do, Surah Al-Fajr, we'll talk about nafsul mutma'inna. Okay, so he's cleared, and he realizes that the king wants to make him his personal secretary. And he says that's not happening, because he knows how many people would die because there was going to be a drought, right? So he tells the king his CV. Do you remember the 2 words he uses? I am trustworthy and I am knowledgeable. In his CV, make me the CFO, make me the treasurer. He prepares for the 7 years of drought. And in those 7 years of drought, if you remember the 2 times we've done, the 2 visits where his brothers come. You remember that? Now in the second visit, Binyamin comes, because he tells them, if Binyamin doesn't come, I'm not going to give you any food. Right? So that's where we basically were. Second visit, he has this private conversation with Binyamin, and he says, look, the only way I can keep you here is if I accuse you of something. And so I'm going to take the king's cup, I'm going to plant it in your saddle, in your stuff, and they will find it, and I will say that our laws say that if somebody steals something, they have to be tried, and they have to be tried in Egypt. So they have to be kept here. So that's where we were. Now Reuben, and his name is Reuben in Arabic, or Ra'ubin. Reuben, one of the brothers, says, I can't face my father. I am not going back, because without Binyamin I cannot go back. However, the others say, oh, our brother before stole as well. They said Yusuf stole as well. And you can see it in Surah Yusuf, it comes in. What happened was that Prophet Yaqub had a sister. Her name was Sarah. Sarah loved Yusuf and Binyamin. And the reason why she loved them was they would do all her work for her. They were the sons that she never had. And she thought, how am I going to keep him here? Because my brother loves them a lot. So her brother had given her a belt, and she slipped that belt into Yusuf's clothes without Yusuf knowing. And when Yusuf went home, she told her brother, my belt is missing. And when they found it on Yusuf, he said, I didn't take it, but he was a child. And she said, our laws say that if you steal something, you have to stay there. Now, remember, Egypt's laws were the same. Okay, you have to stay here. So they stayed with Sarah for a while. So they said, our brother stole as well. They actually remembered that incident when they knew that he didn't steal. All right, so you're good with that, okay? So Reuben stays. This is ayah number 80, okay? You've got something, I think you've got a sticker there, hopefully, for Reuben staying, if I'm not mistaken. If you haven't got a sticker, no, you haven't. Just write, Reuben stayed and 9 left, okay? Now, they go back to Yaqub, and they said that Binyamin stole something. Look what he tells them, exactly as in, do you remember ayah 18? Look back. Kala bal sawalat lakum anfusukum amran. Your souls are lying, you are lying to yourself. You know Binyamin could not have done that, right? فَصَبْرٌ jameel. And perseverance and sabr is beautiful. Asallahu an ya'tiyani bihi jami'an innahu huwal alimul hakim. Allah will bring us all together. He is alim and he is hakim. There is a difference between knowledge and there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Did you know the tomato was a fruit? You didn't. Do you put it in fruit salad? That's wisdom. Knowledge is knowing it's a fruit. Wisdom is knowing that you don't put it in a fruit salad. Okay? So you need both alim and hakim. Okay, so that's what Prophet Yaqub tells them. Right, and this is one of the most beautiful ayahs of the Quran. You don't find this many places in the Quran. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay? So I'd like you to just look at it. So first of all, let's look at 85. Just go back to 85. Because in 84 he says, Ya asafa ala Yusuf. He cries a lot. He misses Yusuf so much. And his son says, what's wrong with you? He's gone. Khalas. You're going to kill yourself if you cry so much. You've heard that before, haven't you? When people are upset, you say, what's wrong with you? Khalas of it. Again and again and again and again, the same story. What's wrong with you? So that's exactly what they said in 85. And look what he says. He says, Qala innama ashku bathi wa huzni ilallah. I only complain of my bath and my huzn, and I will explain those to you in a minute. I only complain of them to Allah, okay? وَأَعْلَمُ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. But I know what you don't know, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, okay? So huzn is fresh grief. Bath is old grief that eats your soul away. It eats you inside. So what is he saying? Innama ashku bathi wa huzni. Bath is the grief of Yusuf. Huzn is the fresh grief of Bin Yamin. And I only complain to Allah. Now why does he say, I know from Allah what you do not know? So remember that this was the time when in this whole area there was a drought. And people used to go to get food from Egypt, right? So one of those people, one of the men from Egypt, he goes to Yusuf, and Yusuf asks everyone, who are you and where are you from? And when this guy tells him the village he comes from, Yusuf's eyes light up. Because to go to the village, he has to go through the valley of Canaan, which is where his father is. So he tells him, when you reach the valley of Canaan, stop. Call out in your loudest voice. Say, oh, Yaqub. And the moment you say Yaqub, an old man who has so much integrity, who walks as though he's absolutely phenomenal, will come to you. And when he comes to you, tell him that I met a man in Egypt who conveys his salams to you. And this man tells you that your trust in Allah is not misplaced. Yusuf is telling him. So he goes to, when he's going to the valley of Canaan, he's calling out, "Oh, Yaqub." And Prophet Yaqub comes and he says, "This man in Egypt gives you his salams." But the moment he says, "Your trust is not misplaced," Yaqub faints. When Yaqub comes to, he tells this man, "You don't know what you have done to my heart. You have no idea. So tell me what you want, and I will pray to God for that." So he looks at Yaqub and he says, "You can't give me what you want, what I want." And he says, "Why don't you try?" So he says, "I have no children. I want children." And it is said that Yaqub raises his dua then. He recites 2 rakat salah. He asks in the name of Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein. And this man has 4 boys or 4 sons or 4 children as such. Okay? So Yaqub, a good place to go to. So now we come to the 3rd trip. They've run out of food. Now this is the 3rd trip. That's 6 months later. Now you might think 6 months is a short time, but it's a long time. If we see blue ticks on WhatsApp, we can't even wait for 6 minutes. Forget about 6 months, okay? So 6 months later, there's another trip. Now on that trip, he says, "Go seek out Yusuf and his brother." He tells his children, right? So if you look at 87, it says, "Ya bunayya, idhabu fatahassasu min Yusufa wa akhihi." Go there and find Yusuf and his brother. Now he knows Yusuf is in Egypt because of that man, right? So he's saying, "Find them for me," he's telling them, "and just go." And he gives them a letter. And in that letter, now this says, in his letter says, "Ya ayyuhal aziz." There, it's addressing Yusuf. And I'll tell you what the letter says. You can look at that. But he says, Yaqub writes a letter, and Yusuf reads it. He says, "We come from a family where trials and tribulations have hit us all the time." He says, "When my grandfather Ibrahim had a tribulation, the fire became cold for him." He tells him, "Yusuf was taken away from me, but whenever I felt grieved," and it was a fraudulent story, "whenever I felt grieved, I used to hug Binyamin, but now they tell me that Binyamin has stolen. I can never be the father of a thief." So he's written all this in this letter. And Yusuf is reading this letter. And he says, "My grief is immense. Please, they tell me you're a righteous man. Give us food and release the family of Ibrahim." This is his letter to Yusuf. He doesn't know it's Yusuf. It's the CFO, it's the treasurer. Yusuf weeps and cries, and he's sitting there and he's looking at this letter because it's from his father. At that moment, he tells his brothers, "I am Yusuf." Okay, so if you look at 1289, he says, and they say, "Kalu ainnaka la anta Yusuf." Are you really Yusuf? And he says, "I am Yusuf, and this is my brother." So he introduces himself to his brothers, right? Now look what he says. قَالَ لَا تَثْرِيبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْيَوْمِ. You're talking about years and years and years and years of what has happened to him. Kidnapped, betrayed, all the rest of it. But he says, there is nothing against you. I forgive you. يَغْفِرُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَهُوَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. Inshallah, Allah will forgive you as well because He is Arhamur Rahimin. These are exactly the same words. That's why you've got the picture of the Kaaba. But the Prophet used when he entered Makkah. You know when he entered Makkah? إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. When he entered, this is what he said. Everybody took refuge near the Kaaba because they said, we're gone. We're the ones who pursued the Prophet. We're the ones who nearly killed him. We're the ones who caused so much hurt with so many wars, yet he forgave them. So he used exactly the same words that Yusuf used for his brothers. I've forgiven you. Now, that's not an easy place to be, right? Okay. Now what happens? So they know now that's their brother. So if you look at 93, he says, "Idhabu bikamisi." Take my shirt. Various tafasir. Some say it was the shirt he was wearing. And you remember that piece of that shirt that was given to him by his father. Do you remember Ibrahim's bit of shirt that he wore around his neck? It could be that. On my phone, And I'm just going to show you what I carry. I carry this green cloth. And maybe some of you may have it, because when you go to ziyarat or whatever, you say, this has touched all the zaris of the Masmi. It has an amazing effect. You're getting a Muharram. Muharram, you're told, carry a rumal-e-Fatima, or a handkerchief, rather than your tissues, because that, when it's buried with you, has an immense effect of forgiveness, right? So this is what he says. He says, "Idhabu bi kamisi hadha falquhu ala wajhi abi." Put it on top of the face of my father. Ya'ati basira. You will see that he'll be able to see. Okay. Wa'atuni bi ahlikum ajmain. And then come and bring all your families. I'd like to tell you a story here, which I say in quite a lot of majlises. You might have heard it, but it's always good to repeat. My teacher, or somebody I've learned a lot from, said that her teacher died on the 8th of Muharram, Hazrat Abbas's day. So she said, my teacher was reading Majalis. And because my teacher died, all of a sudden, I had to take her place. So she said, I took her place. But all the time, my head was I wanted to go give ghusl to my teacher. Ghusl and kafan. She said, when I finished the majlis, I ran to the ghusl khana. And she said, I went there, and they'd already given ghusl to my teacher, and they'd put her kafan on. And I said, where is her handkerchief, her rumal-e-Fatima, as you might want to call it, right? Where is her mindil? In Arabic, it's called mindil. Where's her mindil? And they said, we don't know. We have no idea. I mean, she died all of a sudden. We don't know where all her things are. She said, I swear to God, wallahi, she told me, she said, I took the handkerchief that I used on my mimbar, and I put it in my teacher's hands. Her hands closed round it, and tears came out of her eyes. We're talking about somebody who's died. Don't even mess with those tears. Don't. And keep them. If you get hurt somewhere, put it where it hurts. It has an amazing effect. If Yusuf's shirt, or that piece of whatever shirt he was given to Ibrahim's in the vial, could bring sight back to Yaqub, all you have to do is sit there and say, Ya Rabb al-Hussein, if this can be done, why not? Right in the beginning I said that when he told about his dream to his father took off this amulet that he wore, like a taweez, and in that taweez was a bit of the shirt of Ibrahim. So maybe this was that, maybe it was the shirt of Yusuf. Allahu ya'lam, but I'm just giving an example of how to look at it, okay? Right, 1296. So now what happens? Let's look at a little bit. So now they leave Egypt to go back to Canaan. And if you look at ayah 94 in your Qurans, Yaqub says, I feel the presence of Yusuf, like I know something's happening. And in 95, they said, oh God, you're getting old. You're really old, you're in error. But if you look at the Hadith al-Kisa, you say, Ashummu. Do you know the word Ashummu? Which means I smell the presence. And we read it all the time, right? Same way, he says, I smell the presence. Now what happens in 96? They come. They said, how did you know? How did you know? فَلَمَّا إِنْ جَاءَ الْبَشِيرُ أَلْقَاهُ عَلَى وَجْهِهِ. When they come with good news, they put whatever it was, whether it was Yusuf's shirt or whether it was that bit of shirt from Ibrahim, they put it on his face. فَارْتَدَّ بَصِيرًا. And immediately he could see. A lot of times, a lot of things that happen to you and me are psychological. They're not physical. There is what I call a spiritual assault on the human being, right? And sometimes it is du'as. Sometimes it's that piece of cloth. Whatever it is, you're not worshipping it. Whether it's the alam or it's your more or it's khake shafa. Nobody said you're worshiping it. You worship only Allah. But these are means that help you. And they have an amazing effect. Okay, so قَالَ أَلَمَ كُلَّكُمْ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Did I not tell you that I know what you do not know? They counted him as old and not knowing anything. Okay. So what does he do? 98. قَالَ سَوْفَ أَسْتَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ رَبِّي إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. Why does he say Sofa? Sofa is future. I will ask for your forgiveness from my Rabb. Friday. He waits for Friday because Friday is an awesome day, this is from Ahadith, okay? You know, if things are not working out, tomorrow morning, if you've got any hajat that you want, tomorrow morning, before sunrise, 2 rakats namaz, go into sajda after your 2 rakats, and recite Suratul Kafirun 10 times. It's not hard. Do it for somebody else. If your life is okay, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. There are many people in the world who require du'as. 10 times Suratul Kafirun, and see what happens. Has a phenomenal effect. So he says, I waited for Friday. From tonight, from the time of Salah, that is why we call it Jumerat. It is the night of Friday. In Islam, night comes before the day. So as soon as Salah time happens, you know, you've got the Salah time that will come along. For God's sakes, let's do some du'as. Okay. So they all come back with their family. Okay. The whole family comes, everybody comes up there. By the way, just a side bit. Before Yusuf comes back to Yaqub, Jibreel comes to Yaqub and he says, shall I teach you a dua through which Allah will restore your sight and bring back your sons? And obviously he says yes. So he says, this is the dua. Prayers Adam prayed when I'm trying to translate this, when he wanted Allah to forgive him. Prayers Nuh prayed when he wanted the ark to rest on Mount Judy. Prayers Ibrahim prayed when he was thrown into the fire. You all know this. Allahumma inni as'aluka, oh Allah, I ask you, bihaqi Muhammad wa Ali wa Fatima wa Hassan wa Hussein. I've been saying this all the time, that since our children are young, which teach them, Ya Muhammad, Ya Ali, Ya Fatima, Ya Hassan, Ya. That's all you have to do. And this is what Yaqub did. And, you know, he said, Ya Allah, bring Yusuf and Binyamin back to me and restore my vision. 18 days later, Yusuf was back. 18 days is not a long time. Okay, try. Always works. All right, so now they go back. They take all their families, their wives, their children, Yusuf, Yaqub rather. And do you remember who Binyamin and Yusuf's mama was? Oh, come on. What was her name? Rachel. Thanks. Okay, Rahil, okay? Or Rahil, well done. So took them on. And they come to Egypt. And can you just imagine this whole big family that he's not been with, and he takes his parents, وَرَفَعْهَا بَوَيْهِ عَلَى الْعَرْشِ. He brings them on top of a stage. Yeah? وَخَرُّوا لَهُ سُجَّدًا. They are in gratitude of Allah. Sajda is gratitude of Allah. وَقَالَ يَا عَبَتِي. And he tells his father, oh my father, هَذَا تَعْوِيلُ رُؤْيَايَ مِنْ قَبْلُ قَدْ جَعَلَهَا رَبِّي حَقًّا. This is what my dream meant. When I saw the sun and the moon and the 11 stars doing sajda. It was sajda of gratitude. And he brought me from prison. He was kind to me. Look at the way he says it. But the beautiful verse is, Inna Rabbi latifun lima yasha. To be able to see the silver lining in hard times, read Inna Rabbi latifun lima yasha. And think of Yusuf. Think of everything he went through. Yet he says, thank you. It's gratitude all the way. Innahu huwal, again the same words, alimul hakim, knowledge and wisdom. Before we go to Fajr, now let's see what happened at the end, okay? So the Aziz dies. The king dies. Yusuf becomes king of Egypt. And when Yusuf becomes king of Egypt, Zuleika has got nothing because she's kicked out of everywhere and she's begging on the streets. When she finds out that he's now king of Egypt, she tells the friends around her, I think I'm going to go and talk to him. I still have feelings for him. And they said, you can't go. After all you did to him, you got him into prison. So these are her words. She says, I don't fear anyone who fears God, and he fears God. So she goes to him, and he recognizes her immediately. And she said, look, I couldn't help it. You're just awesome inside and out. So he tells her, what would you do if you saw Muhammad? Because he was awesome inside. He's going to be even more awesome than me inside and out. Can you just imagine? Okay. So He wants to marry her. Now, there are two types of ahadith. One says he marries her regardless of how old she is. The second says that he prays to Allah and she becomes all young and beautiful. I'm not quite sure whether she had plastic surgery or what, or which, or when, but hey, whatever she was, he felt the same for her. He marries her. He lives to the age of 120. And he has his family around him on his deathbed. And he said, the next prophet after me will come. He will be dark-skinned. He will be tall. And his name will be Musa. And he will be from the progeny of Levi. You know, the brother. Not from Yusuf, from Levi. Do you remember Levi was one of the brothers? Or in Arabic, the name is Lawi. So it wasn't from the progeny of Yusuf. It was from the progeny of Lawi. And it'll be Musa. Are you good with that? It's such a good story. Now, I'm not quite sure whether she became young or just the thought of love made her young. That's what it does, doesn't it? Okay. Are you good? You're smiling. That's really cool. Okay, can we have a salawat, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj. Now, I promised you I would do Surah Al-Fajr before Muharram because it is known as the Surah of Imam Hussein. So you have the stickers. I don't know. There are various different things that are given, but I'd rather not, you know, it just doesn't make sense to me that some of the things that have been written. Yusuf was a phenomenal person. And for me, any prophet, when a negativity is written about them, it bothers me. So that's me. Read what you want. I think you don't know. Because that then says that anybody who doesn't have children is subject to something like that, which to me doesn't make sense. Pardon? About gratitude. Oh, it's the last one, 100, I think. If you look at 12, 100. Innahu latifun lima yasha, yes. As what? Suppressor of grief. You see, translations in English are very difficult. Maybe somebody, Sabrun Jamil means somebody who accepted grief and was able to live through it and still get on with his life. He didn't, when it says suppresses, he didn't take his life or he didn't do anything stupid about it. Okay. English translations are really hard, really, really. I go by what the Quran says. And Quran says he cried a lot. Innama ashku. Only to Allah. I complain only to Allah. But you know what? It's good to know. It's good to read more. Are you good with that? Okay. All right. So Surah Al-Fajr is known as the Surah of Imam Hussein. Okay. Imam Sadiq says it is the Surah of Imam Hussein. If you recite it in the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, there is forgiveness. It's a phenomenal surah. It's 30 ayat. It's a Makki surah. As you can see, it's yellow. And if you look at the focus, it's where the human being is tested. It's talking about the human being. Human beings are tested with blessings and constraints. Human beings are not tested just with something difficult. Even when you get something, what do you do with it? And then it talks about ultimate success. Each one of us, if you asked anyone, you said, cut the fog, cut through the fog, give me one thing that you want. I don't know about you, but I would probably say, I want Jannah in the world and the hereafter. Success in the dunya and the hereafter. And how do you measure success? There are different methodologies. So I'm going to talk about success for 2 minutes before I move on. I've got about half an hour, so Surah Al-Fajr will be okay. If you were crossing a road, so you're standing at the edge of the road, you're trying to cross a road, and near you are two people. And there's nothing wrong in being suited, booted. One is suited and booted and has all the designer briefcases and shoes and everything. And there's nothing wrong in that, okay? So I'm putting caveats there so you know that. And the other person who is there is somebody who's collecting your rubbish. So you've got two people. I don't know what day they collect them, but that's the day they're collecting them. You are watching this scenario, and you're watching a mom with a baby in a pushchair trying to cross the road. A car's coming really fast. If I asked you before that who is more successful, you will say the suited booted guy. But when that car is coming fast, it's the person who collects your rubbish that ran to save the child. The mother and child he pushed out of the way at his own expense. Now if I asked you who is successful, you will tell me it is that man, the one who saved the mother and child. You had a paradigm shift in the way you thought. Surah Al-Fajr talks about success. It tells you what success is all about. Keep that in mind when we go into it, okay? Wal-Fajr. I swear by the dawn. Now, there are a couple of things that we need to know. Fajra means an explosion. It's a breaking of light, okay? Fajr is just when sunrise occurs. Write this down because you'll forget. Duha is the soothing light after Fajr. Then you have another light, which is Shuruq, which is sort of late morning light. And then you have Asr, which is late afternoon. Are you good? You got 4 lights there, right? 1, Fajr, which is dawn. Then you have Duha, straight after dawn. You will find in other schools of thought they have a Salatul Shuruq. Shuruq is a little bit late morning. And then you have Asr, which is late evening as such, or if I can talk it, late afternoon. Are you good? And he swears by Fajr. Now notice, in Fajr there's an al. It's a definite article. It could mean, there's volumes and volumes and volumes written on which Fajr this is. It could be the dawn of Islam. It could be revelation, which is like a light that opens up ignorance. It could be a lot of things. It could be the Fajr of Ashura. I mean, lots of things have been given. But you're looking at a moment in time when something takes away darkness and takes away ignorance. Are you good? And it's the Fajr, Al-Fajr. Now there's no Al here. Walayalin Ash, and the 10 nights. It could be the 10 nights of Dhul Hijjah. It could be the 10 nights of Ramadan. It could be the 10 nights of Muharram. But they are nights which change destiny. That which changes the human being's perception of success. While Fajr, one moment when light breaks open of revelation, 10 nights in which the human being changes his or her perfection. For you and me, it might be Muharram because that's when you see the crowd coming in and sitting and listening. So you can personalize this. There's no al. That means there's no definite article here. 10 nights, okay? وَالشَّفْعِ وَالْوَتْرِ. The even and the odd. Even and the odd is salah. There's even salahs and there's odd salahs. Yes? Maghrib is only 3. It could mean shafa and witr of salatul layl or salatul tahajjud or namaz al-shab, as you might want to put it. But at the end of the day, it's talking about salah, which changes the way we perceive our connection with Allah, right? وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَسْرٍ. Now, because of all this, the night, Sara means to walk away, to walk somewhere. Some say to run away, some say to walk away. So the night, when it walks away quickly, revelation removes darkness. If you have ever watched Fajr, 1 minute it's dark and then suddenly the light comes in. That's what revelation does. Suddenly a switch comes on and off. And you think, oh my goodness, it's gone. So there are 4 oaths. Now this is part of Qasam clause in Quran City. The Arabs used to swear when they wanted you or me to listen to what they were saying. So they say, I swear by the flower, I swear by this, I swear by that, and people would stop. It's like that heading, newspaper heading that comes up, okay? So if the Arab wanted attention, then this is what he would do. Allah changes that because he makes the oaths, and he makes that the beginning, if I can put it, he makes them the subject of what will come later on. Are you good? So we got Fajr, we got 10 nights. What are the 4 oaths? 3? Odd and even, which is Salah, and the 4th one, which was revelation or night, when the night disappears. Now he says, هَلْ فِي ذَلِكَ قَسَمٌ لِذِي هِجْرٍ. In this, these oaths are for those who have understanding. Hijr is a rock. The Arabs used to say that you are intelligent if you have rock solid intelligence. That means that in your head you have a rock that stops you from doing wrong things. The rock represents that which stops you from doing wrong things. That is why it says, هَلْ فِي ذَلِكَ قَسَمٌ لِذِي هِجْرٍ. Hijr is a rock. Now we say that somebody's head is gotten. And that's a rock. Then we say, don't understand. Well, the Arabs used to say, rock, solid, intelligence. If you have a rock in your head, it means it's stopping you from doing wrong. It's the other way around. Okay. Are you good? You won't forget now. Okay. Now you find that in this section, you find 6 to 14. I know it's 6 to 8 here, and then we'll come to it. You have a historical reference of people who didn't have rock-solid intelligence, although God gave them a lot. I'm not going to go into all of them. You had Ad, you had Thamud, and you had Fir'aun. Let's go back a bit, okay? So the first person you had were the people of Ad. Do you remember who was sent to Ad? We talked about it. Prophet Hud, right? Really, really strong people, constructive people. They made monuments. Nobody had ever seen monuments like that. Then you had the people of Thamud, who were strong as well. They were given a lot of things. You know which prophet was sent to them? We talked about him, Saleh. Do you remember Prophet Saleh and the camel, right? So they were sent to him. They actually carved things out of mountains. But they were given so much, yet, this is the test that Allah is talking about. When you're given so much, what do you do with it? They became arrogant. We did this. This is us. You know, what we did was working. So, فَأَكْثَرُوا فِيهَا الْفَسَادِ فَسَبَّ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّكَ سَوْطَ عَذَابٍ. And they were punished, okay? This is quite cute, 89:14. إِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَبِلْ مِرْصَادٍ. Now, mirsad is actually when a lion or a snake or any animal is actually watching as what is the right time to pounce upon its prey. So here Allah is saying, I am watching, I can see. When I see this, somebody sent me, you know, on WhatsApp, when you delete a message, you say delete for everyone and it goes away. And this person sent me this, I've got it somewhere on my phone, which says, I saw what you deleted. So when I see these eyes, yeah, you see like green eyes, and it says, I saw what you deleted. I have it in Swahili as well. Nimeona. So in the same way, when you see ayah 14, he's watching. It's not like he's not watching. He knows what you've deleted. Or you thought you didn't say it, or you thought nobody saw you, but he's seeing you. So remember my thing, okay? So now this is the crux of the surah. فَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانِ إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ. When your Rabb gives him honor, وَنَعَمَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمَنِ. So what they used to, all these people, whether it was the people of Ad or Thamud or Fir'aun, what they did was they equated their strength and their wealth and everything good they had. So my Rabb loves me, that's why I've got all this. Right? وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ. But when he restrains them, فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانَنِ. My Rabb has disgraced me. I have a friend, still my friend. Many, many years ago, her husband died when he was very young. And I remember these stairs, we were both sitting down there. And much of the community was a little bit upset with us because we'd started girls' classes. And they thought we were separating the girls from their moms, right? But the girls couldn't understand Urdu or Gujarati. And today they've become a norm. And you bring your daughters and sons up, and you don't even think twice. But at that time, we'd started it. And somebody came up to her and said, Allah ni lakri aste aste awe. That's why your husband died. And that is a tough thing for somebody to take. But she was amazing, as she is. She's always amazing. And this is exactly what, and you remember this ayah. If it is such that Allah only honors you by giving you lots, then all the Masumin, and what we're going to sit for in Karbala, the difficulties they went through, do you think they did wrong? You can't do that. You can't equate something bad happening to somebody doing something wrong. But it tends to come in our heads. I don't know how we think. I really don't. It still bothers me. So the moment somebody says, oh, what did I do? You didn't do anything. You just didn't do anything. Did Bibi Zainab do anything wrong? No. Yet she was tied and taken as prisoner from place to place to place. Imam Zain al-Abidin had a temperature on the day of Ashura. Do you think he did something wrong? No. So these are things that you got to think about. You know, when something's happened to somebody, you say, oh my God, what did you do? No, you didn't do anything, okay? It's God's way of teaching you and me about these things. Now he says to the Quraysh, he says, it's not about you being honored. It's got nothing to do with what you have. Kalla balla tukrimun al-yatim. You don't honor the orphan. It's very hard in life to honor somebody whose status is below you. It's just something else. And I'm going to tell you a story again so you understand what I'm trying to say. Many years ago, my father died when I was 10. I'm 66 now, so it's 56 years ago. But years before that, and I remember when I was a child, we lived in a town where nearby there was a flood, there was tropical rain. And in Arusha, when there was tropical rain, the graves had all gone, you know, that sunk. And my father was one of those people who actually went to help with the graves. When he came back that day, and I still remember I was really young, he just flopped on the sofa and he didn't say a word. And we all asked him and he didn't say anything. Men kind of shut themselves off, they don't tell you. But when he was pushed, he said, do you know that guy who looked after the mosque? Now there was a person whom they called Alai. In Gachi we say Alai. Alai means, you know, he wears flip-flops, his shirt is out, he's not suited booted. But it actually means Allahi. Okay, so this guy used to fill your water in your toilets. And my father said, I got his grave to do. And he had died some years before. And my father said, when I did his grave, it was as though time had not touched him. It was like he was buried that same day. Even his coffin was still white. Okay. So here, Kalla balla tukrimun al-yatim. People made fun of him. You know, people who work for us, we don't see them at the same level as we are, right? And this is exactly what he's saying. وَلَا تُحَاضُّونَ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. It doesn't say you don't feed the poor. You don't encourage it. You just don't. You don't sit there and respect them first and then feed them. وَتَأْكُلُونَ التُّرَاثَ أَكْلًا لَمًّا. And you eat away heritage. You're waiting for someone to die so you can get the money from their wills. Right? وَتُحِبُّونَ الْمَالَ حُبًّا جَمًّا. And you don't care about anything but wealth. If I asked you what you wanted, what is your aim in life, all you're thinking about is how much money I will have, will I pay off my mortgage, am I going to have this, am I going to have that? You're not thinking of anything further than that. And this is talking to the Quraysh. It's talking to us as well. 1, yatim. 2, miskin. And remember, yatim means anybody who doesn't have a shelter. What about refugees? Do I give them the honor? Miskin. Do I encourage people? You know, very many times, we have enough to eat, but the amount of tabarruk we get is just phenomenally, it makes you wonder. It really does. I remember I have to mention this. I remember there was an occasion where there was a charity event. I went to this charity event, and we paid a certain amount of money to sit at the table. You're all looking at me because you know exactly what I'm talking about, and I got told off about it. So, but I'm still going to say it. I went to a charity event. We paid this money, and we had all these presentations which showed starving children, children with problems, you know, without limbs, all the rest of it. And yet we had a 7-course meal. Just couldn't understand it. I just couldn't understand it. And when I said something about it, I was told, you have insulted our volunteers, you've insulted our cooks. No, we can't do that. And we have to speak up, otherwise we're not reading the Quran as we should. It has a practical effect, right? Yes, no, maybe, perhaps. And it's young people like you that will make a difference. Okay. كَلَّا إِذَا دُكَّتِ الْأَرْضُ دَكًّا دَكًّا. So they said, okay, bring on, what's going to happen to us? And he says, you will see the earth crumble to pieces. That which you saw stability will not be stable anymore. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا. And you, ja'a in Gujarati is go, in Arabic it's come. And you will see the malaika come row after row after row, and there'll be nothing you'll be able to do. Okay? وَجِيءَ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِجَهَنَّمَ. And you will see Jahannam. You don't have to wait till Qiyamah. You will actually see the agitation in yourself. يَوْمَئِذٍ يَتَذَكَّرُ الْإِنسَانِ. And on that day the human being will say, وَأَنَّ لَهُ الذِّكْرَ. Oh my goodness, يَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي قَدَّمْتُ لِحَيَاتِي. I wish I'd done something good in my lifetime. I wish I hadn't been so selfish. فَيَوْمَئِذٍ لَا يُعَذِّبُ عَذَابَهُ أَحَدٌ. There is no punishment like it. وَلَا يُؤْثِقُ وَثَاقَهُ أَحَدٌ. And you'll be just tied up in this web that you've created yourself. Connected to Ankabut. Yuthiku wathakahu is actually being tied up. So we get so engrossed in what we're doing, then it's so difficult to come out of that. So free yourself before we get into that. Now the most favorite part of this surah is its ultimate success. Now, if you and I were asked, what is your goal in life? This should be the goal. 89, 27 to 30. Just keep it as it goes. It's the surah of Imam Hussein because it's related to him, that bit. Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna. Now when Allah doesn't say Ya nafsul mutma'inna, He says Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna, which actually puts a little bit of, if I can say, he's emphasizing that he's talking to a soul that is totally content. It doesn't worry about what it's leaving behind. 3 types of stages of the soul. We did Amara. Do you remember what Zuleika said? Not my fault. I couldn't help it. I was so besotted with him. Then you have Lawama. So you have Amara, Lawama, and Mutma'inna. There's 7 stages, but we'll cut it through and make 3. Amara is that bit that tells you. So if you can imagine Amara, then you have Lawama that's trying to tell you, don't do this. You know, like it's reminding you, don't gossip. Just don't sit there. Get up. Go away. Don't do this. And then Mutma'inna is like you've listened to Lawama and you become Mutma'in. Again, I'm going to tell you a story about the frog and the mouse. I love the story, okay? Imagine a frog and a mouse. They're friends. Frog lives on in the water. Mouse lives on the land. So mouse, she loves the frog. And she says, I need to talk to you all the time. And you're away all day. And I need a mobile phone. So he says, okay, why don't we try a string to your foot and a string to my foot? And when something's urgent, pull on the string. Oh my goodness, that was great. Can you imagine giving somebody an iPhone? That's it, done. Okay. So she pulled on it. And she got closer and closer and closer. And the string became knotted and knotted and knotted. And she did it purposely because she wanted him near to such a stage that the frog was in the edge of the river or water and she was on the land. And now she could even see him and she loved it. Came an eagle, grabbed the mouse. And with the mouse went the frog. This is a story by Rumi. And he says the mouse represents your physical body, your nafs amara. Right? The frog represents the nafs lawama that's trying to say, don't do this. And the eagle represents death. When death comes, it's gone. It's khalas. It's gone completely. So to be able to listen to nafs lawama, you gotta calm down a little bit, okay? There's a wonderful book by Mel Robbins. I don't know whether you've seen it. Have you seen it? You know who Mel Robbins is, right? This person. So she's written a book called The Let Them Theory. And the let them theory is an old thing. It's been done before. That means you've got Masahib now. So the let them theory is an old theory. But she actually calls it a let them theory. And she talks about how we get so engrossed in other people, what they're doing, how they're doing, what they will say, manasa suke say, all the rest of it. We forget what is most important. And this is most important. Nafsul mutmainna. You know something, you can't change people unless they want to change themselves. It could be your kids, it could be your spouse, it could be your parents. Unless they want to change, you could talk to the cows come home. It's not going to make any difference. Okay, so Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna. Now he says, you are at peace, because you're at peace with yourself. Irji'i, return ila rabbika, to your Rabb, radiyatam maradiyya. You are happy, you are content, and he is content with what you're doing as well. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to die. It means you are dealing with, to him, he's your focus. Irji, return your focus totally to your Rabb. When you and I were souls, we were asked, Alastu Rabbikum, who is your Rabb? Quran says it. And we said, you are our Rabb. If he's our Rabb, and we know inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, then he's the only one we're going to go back to, okay? Fadkhuli fi ibadi. Enter amongst the arena where my abda, what does he call Muhammad? Surah to Isra, surah number 17. He says that he will take his abd onto a journey. I like the word slave. I don't like the word servant. Your book says, the Quran says servant, right? Slave means you're totally under his control and divine control. It's phenomenal, okay? So enter amongst the people who are righteous, which means surround yourself with people who are righteous. Wadkhuli jannat, and that's the most beautiful part. Enter into my Jannah, as in divine Jannah. Right? You get, there's a wonderful hadith of the Masumin, which says that when you see us, you see God. And when they see you, they should see us. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this man that I started off with in Arusha, it is an honor to be called Allah, to be called Allahi, so that when somebody sees you, they think of God. And that's the aim, basically. That's what Nafsul Mutmainna is about. Are you good? Yes, no, maybe, perhaps. And that's what Muharram is around. So that's Suratul Fajr. I think that gives you the resources of everything. We even have a book on Fajr, I think, which is here. Okay. So our topic in Muharram this year, don't know what that is. Our topic in Muharram this year is called Spiritual Bank, okay? Which means to be able to have a bank in your head of things that you can access when you can't access your computer or your book, or when you're ill, or whatever the case might be. And inshallah, there'll be many of the ayat that you've already done. Inshallah, I will see you after, I don't know, Yasmin, when are we seeing? After 12 days? I think there is one date. Fatima, have you got the date? I'll write on the group anyway. Next week, no, because next week is the 1st of Muharram. 10th of July, something like that. Because then the second week you've got in the middle of Ashura, and then as soon as the 12 days finish, we'll start again, inshallah. And we will continue with Surah Al-Ra'd, which is Surah number 13. Are you good with that? Thank you. Jazakumullah khair. Can we end with the Surah Al-Fatiha? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim. Wala dhalleen.